Hey everyone, it's Nico, and in this video I want to talk about a game I just finished playing that is a new release, and it's called Mika and the Witch's Mountain. It's a really cozy game. It doesn't have a lot of difficulty behind it. It's really charming, and I had an enjoyable time with the handful of hours that I played it. It's not like a lot of games that I typically play. I'm not really the target audience for cozy games, but this one just looked really appealing to me. That's probably because the art style is similar to like what we had in The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, and I really like that game. So it's similar in style to that as far as the visuals go, but just every aspect of this game is just incredibly charming. All of the dialogue, there's many different characters you'll interact with. They each have their own unique personalities. There's some humor in there. It's just a really fun game that I highly recommend. So rather than do a review on it, I just really kind of want to talk about it, my experience with it, and really just steer clear of anything that would be a spoiler, because the story is the main focus here. Since it is a cozy game, there's no combat or boss battles or anything like that. You'll mainly just be exploring the island and interacting with NPCs and completing quests. There's collectibles and secrets in a lot of things like that, so it's really relaxing. There's not a lot of pressure on you. You're not really timed. There's a few, like, quests where you got a little bit of a time constraint, but they're not at all difficult. Like, this is a really easy game, but it's still fun even though it is really easy. So, basically what the story revolves around is that you play as Mika and you want to become a witch. And in order to become a witch, you need to graduate from magic school, and so you need to complete this task for the head witch. And the game starts off with you kind of getting thrown off the top of the mountain, and you need to return there to beat the game. So, in order to get there, you need to complete a bunch of quests and get better brooms, and then eventually you'll be able to return to the top of the mountain. So that's the core premise of the game. Again, I'm not going to go into a lot of the specifics of the story and the twists and turns and the narrative and all that sort of stuff, because that is definitely better to experience for yourself, because the way the dialogue is written is incredibly charming and enjoyable. Like I said, has some funny moments. Now, as far as the gameplay goes, most of the game you're going to be riding around on your broom, which controls really nicely. You have a nice sense of speed to it. You can also move on foot, and you might do that sometimes, but for the majority of the game, you're going to be riding on your broom, moving through gusts of wind. Sometimes you'll be going through the water, flying through the air, all sorts of things like that. It's mainly a mobility game where you ride your broom. And very early on in the game, you'll have to start doing basically like fetch quests. You're basically a delivery person in this game. You'll have to bring packages to specific NPCs scattered throughout the island. And you'll also have to make sure that you don't damage the parcels that you're delivering. And if you do, you could always reset it. So there's no punishing aspects. You might lose a little bit of time if you almost reach your destination and you damage it, and then you reset the item. It'll just return to wherever you picked it up from. You don't necessarily have to do that, but the few times that I did destroy a package, I did just return it, because you want to get the highest rating possible. Maybe you don't care. I mean, I did, because I'm a bit of a completionist, but you get rated based on how you did for the delivery, which I think is mostly around that aspect of if you destroyed it or did you get it wet, because certain packages can't get wet and things like that. So that's the core of the gameplay. It's a lot of kind of fetch quests, I guess, where you're delivering and returning, and maybe you'll find random items on the island and you got to figure out who they belong to. And those are the only ones that are really not straightforward. They don't tell you who those need to go to, they just give you a hint. But the core story quests are all pretty straightforward. You can open your map, and on your map you'll have like a circle which will basically indicate about where you need to go to deliver that particular package. And all this stuff is tracked really well in the journal, so you'll never feel confused or frustrated in terms of the core story elements and your objectives there. It's always laid out very clearly for you. Again, the optional ones are the only ones that might be a little confusing because they leave it up to you to figure out, but you don't have to do those. I enjoyed doing them, so I think I did them all, but maybe one. I think there's one I didn't do. So I almost 100%ed the game, probably like 98%ed it. There's lots of hidden collectibles in the game. There's these little like statues that are different colors, and collecting those are kind of like a currency type. And there's a shrine that you can go to, and you can purchase new skins and keychains and just customization items. Then there's also these other shrines that'll unlock new trails for you, which your trail is basically the stream that comes off the back of your broom as you're flying around. There's a lot of little customization aspects to the game that allows you to kind of, make Mika look the way that you want to. There's not a ton of different skins, there's not a ton of different trails, there's not a lot of keychains or anything like that. It's not like Fortnite where there's like a million different customization options or something. But there is probably something for everyone here, and all of Mika's outfits are pretty adorable to look at, and I liked using the different trails. So some of the footage here that you're watching, you'll probably notice I have a few different trails going throughout. I had a really good time with this as a whole. I can see some people maybe not enjoying this as much as I did, just because the core gameplay is a little bit in the repetitive side, because the bulk of the game is just like delivering packages and exploring. So if you don't like something that's easy and relaxing and chill and a little bit repetitive, you're probably not going to like this. But if you don't mind that aspect of it, it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a fairly short game. You can get through it in probably 3 to 4 hours. I wasn't exactly timing myself, but I think that's about where I landed to play through it. And that was with me doing a lot of the side stuff. The island as a whole is really fun to explore the first time that you get around it, because it's designed in a pretty meaningful way, and you can't quite get to the upper levels of the island in the beginning. You'll get broom upgrades, which will slowly allow you to proceed higher and higher up the mountain. So it does have some progression in that regard, that you can't just like fully explore the island right from the get-go. And you'll unlock different things. I don't want to spoil everything because it's such a short game, but there's aspects to mobility and things like that, and improvements that you'll earn as you play through. They keep it feeling a little bit fresh as you go through. It's not like how you start in the beginning is how you'll finish. You very, very much will have a sense of progression, and there's a nice flow to it as you work your way through. Now, I played this on the Nintendo Switch, and like I said, it's on PC and Switch. I played the Switch version, and it ran great. There was tiny bits of slowdown at times when there's a lot of wind gusts and things like that, but it really wasn't that noticeable, and I think it was just a few frames being dropped. And then in terms of like issues, I didn't run into anything major, but a few things that I did notice, and I'm sure these will probably get fixed. The first of these issues is with the music. There's times where the music just stops, and it's a bit awkward and kind of just silent. And then when you enter a new area and a new music track starts to play, that's kind of when the music comes back. But the music's really enjoyable, so it's kind of a bummer when this happens and it's just silent. The other issues were kind of just like minor graphical oddities. I'm not going to go ahead and show all these because it really wasn't a big deal. It was just kind of weird little things I noticed. And those were really the only two main issues that I came across. No crashes, nothing significant. I didn't like clip through any parts of the environment, and yeah, it was just a really cozy and satisfying game to play through. It was a nice kind of palate cleanser for me. I've been playing through some harder games and some platformers, in RPGs and things like that that have more of a difficulty to them. So this came at a really nice time, and I had a great time with this. I can easily recommend Mika and the Witch's Mountain just for how delightful it is. It's so relaxing and charming, and you can tell they put a lot of effort into writing each of the characters that you'll interact with, so they have their own unique personalities. And that made it really satisfying. It wasn't boring at all in that regard. Sometimes dialogue is not well written and it doesn't come off well unless you have voice acting, because the voice acting is really kind of what puts the emotion behind it. But here, just reading it to yourself, because it is just text, the characters' personalities just all came off really well to me. So I did really enjoy Mika and the Witch's Mountain. So if you enjoy cozy games and you don't mind that it might be a tad bit repetitive with just constantly doing deliveries, and you don't mind that it's on the shorter end of the spectrum, then you should definitely play this for yourself. I did my best to keep this spoiler free, which is why I didn't really touch too much on the story. And I really hope you enjoyed this video and kind of my overview of my experience with it. And if you did, please give the video a like, comment below if you're going to pick this up, if you have any questions, and I'll be sure to respond to you. And also, if you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to keep up on all of my latest content. Appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one.